20 years ago, a baby girl just 3 days old was abandoned by her birth parents at the entrance of a vegetable market. 2 decades later, she traveled all the way from the United States to China and reunited with her biological family on the broken bridge in Hangzhou. The girl held no resentment, while her parents were filled with guilt. The moment they met, her birth mother wrapped her tightly in her arms and broke down in tears. The girl's name is Katie, and her Chinese name is Xu Jingzhi. In 1995, just 3 days after she was born, she was abandoned by her birth parents. A kind passerby brought her to a local welfare center. In 1996, an American couple came to China to adopt a child and brought Katie back to the U.S. When asked about adopting Katie, her adoptive parents were still emotional.
She was just beautiful. But seeing that picture and then seeing her in life was, very happy, very emotional, just tears running down my face.
They already had 2 sons of their own, but they dreamed of having a daughter, so they traveled halfway across the world to Hangzhou to adopt Katie. On the day of the adoption, they dressed up carefully and even dyed their hair black. Sweet little Katie didn't cry at all in her new dad's arms. She gently touched his nose and held her adoptive mother's hand. And just like that, their journey together began. After returning to the U.S., the couple discovered a note hidden in Katie's clothes. It read, "We hope that 10 or 20 years from now, on Katie's birthday, we can reunite on the broken bridge in Hangzhou." It was signed, Heartbroken Parents. They kept the note safe all these years. Katie quickly became the cherished youngest member of the family. Her parents and 2 brothers doted on her endlessly. Under their loving care, Katie grew up healthy and happy. On camera, she was cheerful and full of laughter, like a little angel. Her arrival brought endless joy to the family. As she grew up, Katie started noticing she looked different from the people around her. In her mostly white neighborhood, her different skin color stood out. At age 5, she curiously asked her mom why she looked different. After thinking it over, her mom decided to tell her the truth. Upon hearing the answer, Katie didn't cry or get upset. She simply turned and went back to playing. Maybe she didn't fully understand at that age, or maybe it was because she felt so loved and secure in her home that she didn't dwell on it. From that day forward, she never asked again. As Katie continued to grow, her adoptive parents never forgot about the note from her birth parents. As the 10-year mark approached, they had mixed emotions. Though they feared losing her, they bravely decided to honor the note's request. They wanted Katie's birth parents to know their daughter was doing well and deeply loved. To protect 10-year-old Katie's privacy, her adoptive parents wrote a letter and included a copy of the original note, along with Katie's photo. They asked a Chinese friend who was returning to China to deliver the letter and wait at the broken bridge in Hangzhou. Their hope was that the friend could hand the letter to Katie's birth parents and let them know she was safe and happy. On the agreed-upon day, their friend waited on the bridge for a long time, but no one showed up. Just as he was about to leave, a TV crew happened to be filming in the area. The friend's mission soon caught the media's attention. With their help, Katie's birth parents were finally located. When they learned their daughter had been adopted by an American couple and was living a happy life, they were overwhelmed with relief and joy. Holding her photo, they wept with gratitude. Through the media, they shared the heartbreaking truth from 20 years earlier. They already had a daughter and hoped for a second child. But when their second baby was also a girl, they felt desperate. At that time, due to China's one-child policy and the financial burden of a fine they couldn't afford, they made the painful decision to give her up. Just 3 days after she was born, Katie's father wrapped her in a blanket, placed a note inside, and left her at the entrance of a market, hoping someone kind would find and care for her. He recalled that heartbreaking moment.
当时我轻轻地吻了她一下，我知道这是最后的告别了，然后我走了。
Just when the birth parents hoped to learn more about their daughter's life, communication with the adoptive family unexpectedly broke off. Anxious and heartbroken, they turned to a television station for help, hoping to reconnect. On the other side, the adoptive parents were upset when they found out Katie's story was being broadcast widely across Chinese media. They regretted honoring the reunion letter, worried the coverage might disturb their daughter, who was only 10 years old. They also feared Katie might be taken away from them. Although they lost contact with Katie again after that, her birth parents never gave up. Every year on her birthday, they quietly waited on the broken bridge, hoping their daughter would one day return. They spent the years that followed consumed by guilt and regret. Time flies, 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Under the gentle care of her adoptive parents, Katie had grown up healthy and strong, blossoming into a confident and cheerful young woman. By the time she turned 20, her adoptive parents, after much consideration, carefully brought out a letter that had been hidden away for years and told her the truth about her past. They believed she was now an adult and had the right to know where she came from. Whether or not she wanted to seek out her birth parents was entirely up to her. They would respect her decision and hoped she would follow her heart. Katie took the news surprisingly calmly. She began researching online and, after learning what her birth parents had been through, was left with mixed feelings. After a few nights of deep thought, she decided to go through with the meeting. It was both a response to the outside world and a step driven by her own deep curiosity about her birth country and biological parents. When her American parents found out about her decision, they gave her their full support. Although they were a little worried about her traveling so far, they wished her the best and prayed for her safety and happiness. That deep love gave Katie strength and grace. She held no resentment toward her birth parents, just a quiet sense of anticipation. When she arrived in China, Katie first visited Beijing, taking in the grandeur of the Forbidden City and the vastness of the Great Wall. Then she traveled south by car and finally arrived in Hangzhou. On the day of the meeting, Katie walked alone to the broken bridge. Returning to the place where she was born, 20 years later, felt surreal. That same day, her birth parents had driven to the bridge early in the morning, their hearts surging with anticipation.
看到我肯定情不自禁的肯定要扑上去吧，请求女儿的原谅。
我希望这个路上没有车吧，一辆车都没有，然后以最快的速度来到他的面前，想对他说：“宝贝，我爱你。”
As Katie walked through the crowd toward them, her mother rushed forward, throwing her arms around her daughter and sobbing uncontrollably. Katie, meanwhile, stood calmly with a gentle smile on her face.
I get super emotional in those type of situations, but for my birth mom, I think she was actually really sad in a lot of ways. She just kind of held me and sobbed for like a half hour. I'm glad I can't speak Chinese because I have no clue what I would say anyways.
Back at the house, they threw a big welcome celebration for Katie. Fireworks lit up the sky, and the table was filled with delicious hometown dishes. Even though they couldn't communicate with words, Katie could feel the warmth of her birth parents' love. The next morning, her father took her to the same old marketplace where, 20 years ago, he had left her. He recreated the moment and explained in detail how he had looked back over and over, wanting to return but held back by the heavy traffic. Seeing the guilt in his eyes as he spoke, Katie reassured him that she held no anger toward them. Her words seemed to lift a heavy burden from his heart. In the days that followed, Katie's birth parents took her to visit many scenic spots and introduced her to relatives in their hometown. Katie even performed a beautiful piece on her violin, filling her parents with pride and emotion. Watching their daughter, so talented and graceful, brought tears to their eyes. After dinner one evening, Katie sat with her birth parents and made a video call to her American family. It was the first time both sets of parents saw each other, and they exchanged warm greetings. Katie's birth parents thanked the American couple sincerely, and Katie's adoptive parents were finally able to relax, knowing their daughter was safe and well. When speaking to a reporter later, Katie quietly shared her feelings from the past few days.
I understand for him why he needed forgiveness, but for me, I didn't feel like I needed to forgive them for anything.
When it was time for Katie to leave, her entire birth family accompanied her to the airport. Her mother, eyes brimming with tears, held her tight and didn't want to let go. Her father gave her a heartfelt hug, full of emotion. They didn't ask for much, just that Katie would visit them again whenever she could. Back in the US, Katie's 2 older brothers and adoptive parents were already waiting for her return. They welcomed her back with warm hugs, as if she had only been away on a trip. This journey had felt like a dream to Katie, strange yet beautiful. Her special trip had come to an end. The old broken bridge had witnessed countless touching reunions and farewells. Now, it had become part of Katie's story, too. From Xu Jingzhi to Katie, abandoned at just 3 days old, her life began with heartbreak. But thanks to her American parents, she had a happy childhood. Now grown, she had become one of the lucky ones. As for Katie's birth parents, after abandoning their newborn daughter, they now wanted to reunite with her. What do you think of their actions?